and energy. Amazing.
Wow. Crazy.
Well, salud. I'm loving it.
Go to www.vitalizerapp.com and make your smartphone brilliant.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Hi, this is Faith. Welcome to the Faith Washington Show. We will discuss life, business, leadership, family, and fun, and what happens when your view of the world expands. A wide variety of guests will provide insight on how they do business, family, and leadership in their lives. So now, here's today's show. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Faith Washington Show. And we are live on Facebook, Periscope, 95.3 FM, 1470 AM, and the iHeartRadio app at WNN. Tonight, I have an amazing guest, my good friend, Gregory Freed. Hi, Marianne. That's his wife.
Hi, Marianne. That's my wife.
Gregory, thanks so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very
Yeah.
excited. This is I'm so proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm extremely honored to be here.
Thank you. Gregory owns Gregory's Fine Jewelry in Delray Beach. It's right off, is it off Powerline? Or Jog Road.
Across from Murakami Museum.
Okay, so it is in the Addison Plaza?
Addison Place.
Addison
on
Place.
Country Club Mile.
Country Club Mile.
Yes.
It is a very beautiful jewelry store. You do custom designs as well as things that come into your store inventory-wise, is
Yes,
that
so
correct?
we're a full-service jewelry store. We do watch repair, any kind of repair. We have jewelry from high-end to faux, designer, but our main specialty is custom design. People love to bring me old jewelry from either their grandmother or their mother, and they come in and they say, you made a beautiful piece for my friend or my sister, excuse me, and can you create something for me?
Right.
And we just, it comes natural to me, and we make beautiful pieces. So it's exciting for the jewelry business. It's much harder to do. It's like long division.
And I agree.
But,
I agree.
it's when they come in and they see that beautiful piece I made from either their grandmother's stuff, the sentimental value of that is just unremarkable. And,
You can't, there's no price for that.
No,
There
it's
really
priceless.
isn't. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the advertisements you see on TV.
Right.
It's priceless.
Right. So it keeps us busy. But,
Right.
but custom is definitely, I enjoy that, doing and making people happy.
Absolutely, that you do. I remember being at a party at your store not long ago, and I really kind of thought that it would be so packed I wouldn't be able to even get in to see you and Marianne.
Right.
And it's just kind of interesting that there's such a big community that you support charity-wise. I'm astounded. 65 charities that Gregory either heads up or is chairman, or along those lines, you are helping and giving. And I want to talk about that too.
Right.
A little bit about the poem. I believe it was Linda Ellis.
The Dash.
The Dash.
Yes.
Tell us this poem, because this is, folks, this is the core. This is the center of why Gregory does what he does all around. Not just his store, which is a really beautiful place, but his heart for the community and the people that live here.
So The Dash is a poem that Marion and I were at a chamber lunch, and the outgoing small business leader of the year finished his speech by reading The Dash. And when Marion and I got in the car and we were heading back to the store, we were talking about the lunch, and I said, do you remember the name of that poem? Because out of the entire lunch, this poem sort of resonated with me. And she said no, and so I called Troy McClellan of the chamber, and I said, can we sort of facilitate a way? And I got the name, and the Dash poem is on one of my bulletin boards in my office. It's been there now for almost 9 years.
Wow.
And it's a little bit faded, but nevertheless, the message is still strong as ever. And the logistics of the message is that we're never going to be remembered for the year that we were born, and we're never going to be remembered for the year that we passed. We're only going to be remembered what did we do with our dash? And I sort of resonated with that to say my dash is to try and help others. I sell a very shiny product that can raise money. So about 9 years ago, Marion and I were on vacation in Costa Rica, and we saw family and some children and just such poverty that I was like, we need to do something about this.
And that's heartbreaking. It's
Yeah.
heart-wrenching. Whenever you go to third world countries, I
Yes.
don't know. I mean, sure that our audience has traveled, but and going to Mexico, and I saw the same thing. People
Right.
living out of cardboard
Board
boxes. And you know something? For those of you that don't know, there are people in the United States, same kind of issues. They don't have a place to lay their head. They have to live in a shelter for X amount of time. And you know something? It shouldn't be that way here in the United States. If we're going to give, we need to give generously. I know I do, and I know you do.
Well, and I tell people all the time, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but as president of Unicorn Children's Foundation.
Yeah, explain.
and-
Can you
and
just
we'll-
give us
I'm
a
gonna
little
sort
bit
tie
of an
this all in.
explanation? Okay, good.
But I try to tell people that, you know, when I go to a charity event and I hear somebody say it takes a village, and I thought about that for a couple of years, and I'm like, it doesn't take a village. It just takes each and every one of us to do a small little part.
Apart.
And if everybody does a little, you know what? We're going to get a lot done. And that's just kind of been my motto. We've been doing charity events for 9 years. We've given over $500,000 in jewelry to charity.
Wow.
And I know that I'm not curing anything, and I know that I'm not making major strides in what I do. But at the end of the day,
Yes, you are.
I go home and I'm content with that I did my part. And, you know, my staff, my manager, Barbara Callan, my other sales girl and handles all the charities, Marcy Weissman.
They're amazing,
They-
folks.
yes,
Just go to the store so you can talk to them
Right.
because they're brilliant.
Yes.
They're very sweet. They're so knowledgeable and they're a lot of fun. You
Well-
walk in and it feels like home.
Well, it's
Gregory comes
family.
out and it's family.
It's family, and they know how passionate I am about charity, and you know, they give me the ability to go to a lunch.
I was gonna say
they give
that.
me the ability to go here. There's peace of mind to know that, you know, they're and again the bigger part, not issue, is they support anything I do, and I go to these events, and Barbara's been with me from day one, and Barbara's right next to me, and Marianne's there, and Marcy's there, and you know, and it's a team effort
Yep.
to do this, especially for the fact when I started to do charity, and Marion and I just went every weekend to a different event, and
Right.
we learned how it all works in Boca Raton, and obviously our sponsorships got bigger, and now I'm still involved in over 60 charities, and
Wow.
I don't attend all of them, but we are definitely involved. We've built some long-standing relationships that are amazing. But my sights now is on the Unicorn Children's Foundation. This is a 23-year-old Boca-based charity that raises money for programs for children with neurodiversity. And I got involved a few years ago, and I was vetted by my CEO, Sharon Alexander, to go on the board. And at that time, I thought, maybe this is the next stage of my philanthropy, that I'm going to go in and make decisions on, you know, a foundation's well-being. And 3 years ago, I wound up taking the presidency over.
Nice.
So I'm now the
Congratulations.
president, thank you, of this amazing organization that's run by 5 people, you know, Tom Leonardo, Brett Dean, Amy Mann, Yvonne Rodriguez, and Sharon Alexander. And I couldn't ask for a better, coherent group to help the initiative along. And then I just come in and like a tornado and, you know, want to do this and want to do that. And why don't we do this? And why don't
And
we
they're
do
like,
that?
stop,
Right.
wait,
And,
hold on.
but like The Good Doctor that was on ABC this season about, you know, an autistic child who became who's a surgeon. So, and even if you watched Anderson Cooper's CNN Heroes, the winner went to a special needs family of a woman who has 2 Down syndrome children, who she made a coffee shop called Biddy and Bo, and everybody that works there is a special needs child, whether
Love
it's
it.
autism. And out of all of these amazing charities or foundations that were on there, it went to special needs. So it really gives us a great push forward to know that what we're doing at Unicorn is on the right path.
Yes.
And although I love all my charities and I will go to the end of the earth for all my charities, Unicorn's the special one, why I wear the bracelet.
Which
I
says,
never take the brace off. And our mission,
getting caught
not
being kind. Let that land just for a second, folks. Just hear these words. Getting caught being kind. What could be better? How does it get any better than that?
Well, it gets better if everybody partakes.
Right.
That's the mission. The mission is that no matter what you belong to and no matter what you believe in, and everybody has a heart and everybody should try and do their part. And, you know, it sounds kind of jinglish, but when we go out to charities or I go out to a charity and they see me and they go, you know, some of the older children say, why do you do what you do? And I said, because everybody on this earth serves a purpose. My purpose was to own a jewelry store and to sell good jewelry and provide customer service and, you know, be the, you know, the local favorite. But my calling, I think, was to give back. And it's taken 9 years. And listen, we need people to buy jewelry so we can continue to donate jewelry.
Agreed.
I mean, that's the most important thing.
Agreed.
But we are, you know, people come to my store and they see me, which you've seen me. I'm in jeans and a shirt, and people are expecting me to be in a suit. And I say to people, if I had you over to my house for Super Bowl, would I be in a suit? No. Or would I be in, like, jeans and a shirt?
Comfortable.
And that's
comfortable at home because it's home.
We really try to make Gregory's Fine Jewelry, or we try to make the lifestyle of Gregory's simply spectacular.
Yes.
And, you know, we sit and I'm, you know, and if my manager is watching this, she's probably laughing about what I'm about to say, is that I actually have the gift to talk too much because I want to know about, you
everything.
know, Uncle Larry, and I want to know about Annie, and I want to know about this, and I want to know about that. And
but that's part of not just being involved in the charities, Gregory, but that's also part of savvy business folks. That's how I do my business. That's how I always did business. That's how I built multi-million-dollar pharmacies.
Right.
Okay, for Fortune 100 and 500 companies, was literally building those relationships. You know what? No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think the interesting thing about you, and I was fascinated, I spent like an hour with Gregory a couple weeks ago so we could discuss, okay, what are we going to talk about on the show? And this is really organic, so we really don't have a lot written down. But while I was sitting there, he has 3 phones. They did not stop ringing, and he still kept his attention for me to talk about the show. He was able to recite to Barbara, who came in and asked about one client's set of, I don't know what, something, earrings, blah, blah, blah. He was able to recite the cut, color, clarity. Yeah, they're this. This is what they're going to, this is what it is. Here's what the I'm like, I'm blown away. I'm thinking, you're like a freaking computer. You're like a computer. And then the charity stuff, he picked up the phone and spoke to someone, and just, you give so much of yourself. It isn't just that you're giving to the charities, but you're giving through your business. I find that amazing. I find that I know one thing that I've always referred people to your store. If anyone asks me where to get jewelry, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to 10X that. Because I believe that what you're doing there isn't just for you. It isn't just for you and Marianne. It's for the whole community. I think that is so incredibly powerful. What better way for us to be deeply rooted in a community, all right? You started with the charities 9 years ago. You started with your store in 2005. How can we not be here to support you for all the things that you give?
Again, I've always made it a point to put charity first.
Yep. Agreed.
Because I feel like you need to be grounded and you need to understand, you know, when I started charity 9 years ago, there was a bunch of jewelers and we were all at the same events.
Right.
And some of these jewelers were like, they didn't get it. And I used to say to them, it's not about us.
It's about giving back to the community.
It's about giving back to the community. And I said, and one day when you give, you'll receive. Right. Now, it may not be happening as fast as I'd like from a business standpoint,
yep.
but it doesn't stop me from getting up every day and saying,
and loving life,
and saying, hey, this is what I was here to do. This is what I was born to do. This is what I feel like I need to be doing.
And you're brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I heard, because I can tell when people know their stuff.
And it really hit home last May when I received the biggest heart award from Florence Fuller Child Development Center.
Wow.
And it's the second highest.
I want you to repeat that one more time so that it lands.
So the Florence Fuller Child Development Center, which is with Diane and Alana and Ellen and the whole group and their new president, Stacey Packer, and they do an annual lunch called the Men with Caring Hearts Lunch, and it's to nominate and to honor the men who, you know, you go to this town, every event's about nominating a woman.
Right.
And
right.
Florence Fuller does it for the men. Their highest award is their Lifetime Achievement Award, which was being given to J.D. Pietro of Boca West.
Right.
And then the biggest heart award was going to me. And when I got the call that I was receiving this, I was very taken back because there are so many bigger men that do so much more.
Right.
Like, I donate jewelry and we raise money and we hope we have a good night. But for Florence Fuller to give me this coveted award, and even the day of the lunch, and they had over 500 people there. And
wow.
I went up to the podium and I made this prepared speech, and I just said, you know what? No speech. I'm just going to go from the heart.
Yeah. There you go.
I was extremely honored to serve that day with J.D. Pietro. He's a personal friend of mine, a mentor in the charity world on giving back. Yeah. And I still, to this day, when I go in my office and I see that award, I'm like, they gave it to me. I'm just the jeweler who wants to like help people and give jewelry, and you know what? And everybody will love me and they'll come buy jewelry, and you know what? And we'll exist forever. But it was the first time that it wasn't about charity. It wasn't about what I was donating. It wasn't about Barbara and Marcy. About Barbara and Marcy making sure that the auction went well. This was about a body of work that I, in people's minds, deserved to have this award. And I didn't know how to react to that because I've always made it not about me.
Right.
You know, Barbara, Marcy, and Marianne are like in the interorbit of me.
And so they see,
mainly Barbara, because
they see that.
Because I spend more time with Barbara.
Right.
And it was the first time that, you know, it was all about me. And that's just not how...
That's not how you operate.
Yeah, I analytically look at it.
So you were probably thinking, whoa, this is...
Yeah, it was an emotional day. And it was really amazing because, you know, Diane Showcross from Florence Fuller, who I love her to death, she took my Get Caught Being Kind hashtag and she put it up on the screens for everybody to see. And it was a very emotional moment because that's what I preach. And
you live it. But the difference is you live it.
Right. And you probably will be the first to say something. But when I started on Facebook, it was all about funnies. And I was like the king of funnies. Try not to laugh.
Okay.
And now.
Because I miss those funnies.
But I think but when I became president of Unicorn, my team said, Mr. President, you may have to be a little bit more presidential. And I said, but my people love funnies. And so now it's all about preaching the message of, you know, being kind and doing your part.
Which is what you were before.
And giving back.
Even in the funny stuff.
Right.
The you know what I call it? It's like that raw humor, like a sense of humor that's just, you say things that people are really thinking, but
right. Well,
but they're not going to say it out loud.
Right. Ever come to the store, you'll never know what, like you and we've had a couple of laughing moments that are for the masses. But, I'm surrounded by people and, I'm surrounded by people who, want to do for the better.
Yes.
Some of my donors for Unicorn, are just amazing people. Yeah. They I know that there's one woman who's watching right now. Her name is Gail. She literally,
Gail, hi
Gail. She called me right before to say, I can't find the show. I can't find the show. But, she always writes in Greg We Trust. And, and she loves my initiatives at Unicorn. And she tells me all the time, whatever you're involved in, I believe in and I want to be a part of. And that's a big responsibility.
That's a lot of trust. See, and once again, that comes down to not just the charitable things, but in business as well. I believe that who you are inside needs to be congruent with your business. And when you have that congruency, then that's when everything begins to click and to rise.
Correct.
And, I think that one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, I'm going to digress a little bit here, is, along the building of your business, there had to have been some challenges. We spoke of one earlier, but can you think of anything you'd like to share with the audience that was a challenge for you that, I don't even want to say a challenge, just something that came up and you're like, okay, what am I going to do with this?
Well, when you have a store, a retail business in town, in any town,
right,
your reputation is everything.
Absolutely.
One thing that we live by at Gregory's is that we're only as good as our last sale. We're only as good as our last repair. We're only as good as our last custom design. Remember, I'm in the luxury item business. Most women would probably beg to differ, but they don't need what I sell to live.
Right.
So even some 12 years later and some 10,000 clients, we still appreciate anybody who comes through our door.
Yes.
And if it's even for a simple repair, we have a saying that every day we have to try and recreate or create a Gregory's girl. Right. If it becomes a new client. And you'll frequently hear me say, if somebody's a new client, well, congratulations, you've just become a Gregory's girl.
How cool is that?
And what we're trying to do is show everybody the Gregory's lifestyle, show them the world of Gregory's. And
it can fit anyone.
And it can fit anyone.
It can fit anyone because
Correct.
you have such a giant spectrum of jewelry in there. The pieces are gorgeous.
Thank you.
From the faux to the huge diamonds.
Correct.
Yes.
So the challenges were to try and run a business, donate jewelry to charities,
right,
and to make sure that we were doing it for the right reasons.
Yes. Motivation of the heart.
I'm one of those guys that would leave the charity event and say to Marianne at 11:30 at night, we left money on the table during the auction. Maybe the piece wasn't right. Maybe the auctioneer didn't go hard enough.
Second-guessing yourself.
Always. And so then I'd come in on Tuesday and say to Barbara, so what do you think? And Barbara would say, well, so we devised other ways to raise money. We do the Gregory's grab bag. We do the Gregory's key challenge. We do the Gregory's grand raffle. We do other ways because it's all about connections.
Agreed.
And it's all about doing it and at the end of the day, raising money. Like jewelers historically, if they get involved in a charity event, don't want to share a live auction space. They want to have key billing. And I go, listen, just let me know what they're doing and I'll do something else at the end of the day. A perfect example, Neil Meany, who used to be the director of Tiffany's in Boca.
Okay.
And Neil, when he first got that position, Neil started to get involved because of charity because, oh my God, there's a new director.
Right.
And everybody wants the blue box.
Right.
And Neil and Neil's like a brother to me.
I love hearing
Neil and I sat at an event together, and everybody was kind of going, "Oh, did you look at Greg and Neil sitting at the table?" And I was telling Neil, "Listen, I'm very heavily involved in charity, and of various charities that I'm involved in are going to come to you. And at the end of the day, let's work together. Right. If you're going to do the high-end piece, then I'll do the low-end piece." And this is really going to sound bad for charity, but I would say to Neil, you go high, I go low, and we'll take everybody's money and we'll raise money for these kids.
Exactly.
And
that's the idea.
This brotherhood of going in and raising money. And like Marion and I, every Christmas, he'd have a party at Tiffany's and the newspapers would be there and, you know, this and that. And Marion and I would go walking in and people would say, "What is Gregory doing here?" Or they'd come to me and say, and I'm like,
synergy,
because we're supporting.
It's exactly. You're supportive of
right.
someone in the same industry. See, to me, competition is in your head.
Correct.
Competition is every person has their own niche. Once you find your niche, no matter what it is, there are always going to be people that are doing something similar, but you can find ways to work together, especially for the charitable events where you're like, if you had 5 or 6, could you imagine 5 or 6 different jewelers giving together, that the giving is going way up for these charities?
Well, I'm the only one sort of still doing it because I, you know, again, I do it for the charity.
Right.
And so the challenge is like moving up through this was to make sure that I was doing the good for the charity, that my business was growing,
right.
that I was making the right contacts, that I was making the right connections, basically to make sure that I was doing it right. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way.
But that's how you fail forward. That's
Exactly.
how everyone in business, you're going to fail multiple times as you learn and grow.
Correct. But
That's the
again,
path.
my existence
That's the
with
path.
this is the girls in the store. It's the a commonality between us that, yeah, they beg to differ on a lot of things that I do.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, they support me and we're family.
Absolutely.
And family team sticks together, and you know, moving it forward is
Tell me
you know.
how they look at the camera. Tell them where they can find you.
So you can contact us at Gregory's Fine Jewelry, 561-638-8522. We're located on Jog Road, 16950 Jog Road, right by Henry's Restaurant, D'Angelo's, The Sea. We'd love you to come in and see what the Gregory's lifestyle is all about.
Thank you, Gregory, for being on.
Thank you
really
for having
appreciate
me.
It. Really,
you know, we were a
appreciate
little worried that we were going to laugh through
I
this
know
whole
we didn't
thing.
laugh here,
And we really didn't laugh.
We didn't.
But we had
have
a lot
to do
to
it again.
cover. And you know what?
We got to do this again.
As long as you're going to have me back.
I will. I promise.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks. We are live on Facebook, Periscope, as well as 95.3 FM, 1470 AM, and the iHeartRadio app, WNN. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. See ya. You've been listening and watching The Faith Washington Show, where we have widened your view of the world. Our guests share their business, family, and fun life hacks to make your world better. Hope you've learned something to apply to your life and business.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored